Well, I will introduce Carl Rust. And Carl, if you're checking your dividends from Kindle, I'm the last person to have bought today, so you probably get 2 cents for that. So
yeah.
Turn it over to Carl Rust to introduce Heather.
Okay, when I was assistant principal and I was given time in a staff meeting to talk, I always set a timer. So I'm setting my timer. I have 5 minutes to talk. Heather MacTaggart. We don't need no education. We don't need no thoughts control. No dark sarcasm in the classroom. Teacher, leave them kids alone. Hey, teacher, leave them kids alone. So I was a teacher in conventional school for 30 years, teacher and administrator. And I worked really hard for all that time to try to make school a fun, warm, inviting, wonderful place for kids to be. But I was always fighting against the system. I was always swimming upstream. And I made a lot of mistakes. But from talking to some of my former students over the years, I had some effect. I did some things right. But the problem is the system is designed in such a way, it's kind of a loop and it's self-replicating. So it's really hard for the system to change. And I've been reading the chat here and reading Wayne's comments, and I agree with a lot of what he says. It's very, very frustrating to try to change the educational system because there's lots of reasons why it's hard to change. But one of them is that we're all trapped in the system, and it's hard for everybody to figure out, okay, in my classroom, I can get away with some things. Maybe as assistant principal, I was able to do some things kind of on the side, but when you come back to it, it's still the same system. It's based on top-down decision-making. It's based on adults know everything and kids don't know anything. I mean, probably not that extreme, but pretty close to that. We've got to have grades. We have to have tests. We have to group kids by age. And when you try to question why do we do that, well, it's just the way we do it. It's interesting that the Jim's comments about Peter Gray, because I had that in my little thing. I was going to talk about Peter Gray. Peter Gray, when I was searching and trying to find out what can I do to make things better for kids, and I read Peter Gray's book. A parent suggested I read it. I read it, and it was a light bulb that came on, but it resonated with things I already kind of knew deep down inside myself. But he put it in a way that it's like, yeah, of course, this is exactly right. But that's what light bulb that's turned on in my head that will never go off. When I met Heather MacTaggart at the Aero conference and I listened to her ideas, that was another light bulb that went off. And I was like, well, of course, exactly. And when you look at her bio on the conference website, it's like, wow, this woman has accomplished a tremendous amount. But when we discussed things initially, one of the things that we found was that we shared a frustration because she's been trying to change the system from inside. I was trying to change the system from inside, and we're frustrated because we couldn't get it done. And so when she told me her idea of unschooling school, I was like, this is brilliant. And so I guess what I would say, I mean, you can read all her accomplishments: educator, author, innovator, consensus builder. I think all those things are true. She's had a couple startups that she's done that have had major impact on people's lives. but she's still, the system itself doesn't change. So she's a brilliant, passionate, articulate warrior on behalf of younger people. She's tenacious and determined to change the way we run schools. And I believe she will not rest until all people everywhere have the opportunity to guide their own education process. She's a tigress. Conventional schools beware. Heather MacTaggart.